Okay, so now that we've gone over the first two videos and you've gotten some practice plotting the XY values on the graph and making a graph, and you know what an x-axis is and a y-axis is, I'm going to add another level of difficulty to you, and I'm going to reintroduce the number lines just like we did in the very first video. But this time, if you notice, the number line, the 0 is in the middle of this number line. So here's where the 0 is. And we're going to go over the fact that number lines don't necessarily have to start at the 0 and just go to the right. They can start at the 0 in the middle and go to the right and also go to the left. So the right would be considered your positive numbers and the left would be considered your negative numbers. So let's try to plot this little chart on this number line just using dots. Say you're keeping track of when you go to bed at night for 5 days in a row during a school week. And the first night you went to bed on a Sunday night and you went to bed 1 hour late. So this number line is going to be the hours late getting to bed. So the first night, as I said, Sunday night, you went to bed 1 hour late. So that is 1 hour that's going to be on your 1, on your positives 1. You went to bed 1 hour late. So we're going to put a dot right there at the 1. And then the second night, Monday night, you went to bed 1 hour early. Well, so 1 hour early is going to be in the negatives, and we're going to have a 1, a negative 1. You went to bed negative 1 hours late, and so your point would be right here in the negative 1. Then Tuesday night, you went to bed 2 hours late. So that's going to be 1, 2, 2 hours late in the positives. And then the next night, you went to bed on time. So that's neither late nor early. So that's going to be right smack dab in the middle at the 0 marker, on time. And then finally, on Thursday night, you went to bed 1.5 hours early. So that's going to be negative 1.5. So we have our negative 1 right here. And then the next marker is going to be negative 2. So negative 1.5, we would plot a dot right in between the negative 1 and the negative 2. And these would be all the dots of when you went to bed for 5 days in a row. Now we're going to add our y-axis to this, and our y-axis is going to be, say, after you went to bed every night, you woke up the next morning and you rated how you felt on a scale of 1 to 10. And so this is going to be our y-axis, our amount, which is our up and down line. And when we set this up, we're going to start our y-axis also at the 0, because the y-axis and the x-axis is always going to share a 0. It's the y-axis isn't going to go over here on the left. The y-axis is going to start on the 0 where the x-axis 0 is. So we're going to put the y-axis up here, and we're going to have the markers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we're going to plot this in a graph-like form using both the y-axis and the x-axis. So we're going to keep our x-axis as the times you went to bed. So these are our x values. And our y-axis, our y values, are going to be how you rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how you rated how you felt. So these are going to be our y values. So the first night, on a Sunday night, you went to bed 1 hour late. You're going to go over from the 0 into the positive numbers on the x-axis. And here's the 1. And you went to bed 1 hour late, so you're going to be in this 1 on this 1 marker on the x-axis. And you reported that you felt about a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. So we're going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's where we're going to put our dot. And then the next night, you went to bed 1 hour early. So 1 hour early, that's going to be a -1. So -1's over here. And you reported that you felt about an 8 when you woke up the next morning. So we're going to still go up the y-axis up to the 8 and make a dot right here. So we're going to be -1 on the x-axis and a +8 on the y-axis. And then the next night you went to bed 2 hours late. So that's going to be a 2 positive. So on the x-axis we're going to go out to 2. And you reported that you felt about a 5. Since you went to bed 2 hours late, you only felt about a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10 when you woke up the next day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to be right here. And then the next night you went to bed on time. So remember, on time, you didn't go to bed late at all, so you're not in the positive numbers, and you didn't go to bed early, so you're not in the negative numbers. You're right smack at the 0 marker for the x-axis. And you reported that you felt a 10 when you woke up the next morning. You felt really refreshed, and you felt you were at a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. So we're going to go up this y-axis and put a dot all the way up here at 10. And then finally, you went to bed 1.5 hours early. So on the x-axis, that's going to be a -1. But we're not going to really put a dot there. I'm just doing that to show you where we're at on a -1. And you reported that you felt about a 9. You felt pretty good. So we're going to go up and we're going to put a dot right here at the 9. So as you can see, if we draw a line connecting all of these dots in order, it makes kind of a squiggly line. It doesn't make a linear line. It makes sort of a squiggly line. It looks like a little mountain there. And that's just numbers. Sometimes they make random values like that. So that's going to be how you're going to plot numbers that go into the negatives and the positives on your x-axis, and your y-axis has positive values. Now we're going to deal with negative and positive values on the y-axis going up and down. So here I have the y-axis drawn, the amount axis we called it, but it's really called the y-axis or amount. And I have this drawn, and if you notice on this y-axis I have the 0 in the middle. I don't have the 0 all the way at the bottom of the y-axis. I have the 0 in the middle. So that means everything above the 0 is going to be positive numbers, and everything below the 0 is going to be negative numbers. So let's try to just plot little dots on this amount line with talking about your money that you have over a 5-day basis. This is how much money you have. So the first day, you have $5 in your pocket. Feeling good, you have $5. So that's going to be a positive $5. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we're going to put our dot right there at $5. And then the next day, it turns out that you owed a friend of yours $10. So you're like, oh man, so you gave him your $5 and you're like, I gotta owe you $5 more. So you're actually in the negative $5 because you still owe your friend $5 more. So we have negative $5. So that's going to be down in the negative. So you're going to go below the zero, below the zero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to put a little dot here for negative $5. And then the next day, you had $5, you found $5 in your jacket pocket or something, so you paid your friend back. So you're like, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry I owed you $5. Here's your $5. So now you're even, now you broke even. So you have no money, but you're not in debt anymore either. So you have $0. So that would obviously be a point on the zero line of this y-axis. Then the next day, somebody's like, oh, by the way, here's $3 for feeding my cat while I was out of town, or for whatever. So you ended up gaining $3. So that's going to be a positive $3. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to put a dot there. So that's $3. And then the last day, you had held on to that $3. You didn't spend it. And you ended up picking up $2 more. You found like $2 in quarters under your couch cushions or something. So you ended up having $7. So we're going to say that in the positive, you're going to go above the zero all the way up to 7. So here's a dot at $7. So now you have this y-axis, or this amount line, with points on different days, how much you had in your pocket on different days. Now we're going to add an extra dimension to it, and we're going to tell a story about how much money you had on different days. And in order to do that, we need to add the element of time. We need to add the fact that this was happening on different days and which day it happened. So in the element of time, on day 1 was when you had $5. Day 2 was when you had negative $5. Day 3, you broke even and had $0. Day 4, you had $3. And day 5, you had $7. So if you haven't guessed yet, this time, this is going to be your x-axis, your left to right bar. And so in order to set that up, we're going to have to draw a line from left to right for your x-axis. And where do you think the x-axis is going to start? Where do you think that line is going to happen? Is it going to happen down here at the bottom of the y-axis? No, it's going to start at the y's 0, because the y and the x always share a 0. That's their starting point. You always meet the y-axis and the x-axis at the 0. So we're going to start here at the 0 of the y-axis, and we're going to draw our x-axis out like this. And we're going to go for days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So we're going to mark this days, and we're going to mark this your money. Alright, so let's get rid of this line down here because that's wrong. That's not where we want the x-axis. So let's start plotting this out and telling a story over time. How much money did you have? So of course we start with the x values first. So that would be day 1. So on day 1, we would count out from the 0 out to the 1 marker on the x-axis. And on that day you had $5. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and plot a point right there. So that's going to be $5 on day 1. Now on day 2, remember you ran into your friend and you owed him $10. So you're like, oh man, all I have is $5. I'm going to have to owe you $5 more. So you gave your friend your $5 and you're like, I'm going to owe you $5. So you were in the negative, you're in the whole $5. So on day 2, which is on our x-axis, here's day 2, you're going to have negative $5. So that means we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to plot a point down here at negative $5. There's negative $5, and this is positive $5 up here. Now on day 3, you found $5, like you found $5 in your jacket pocket or something, and so you knew you owed your friend $5, so you paid him back. So that broke you even. That gave you $0 for that day. So on their x-axis, we're going to go out to day 3, and you have $0. So that's going to keep your points right on that line, on the x-axis line, lined up with the 0. Because here's your 0. So your point is going to be right at 0 on day 3. Now on day 4, you remember you fed your friend's cat, and they gave you $3. And so on day 4, we're going to go out to day 4 on the x-axis, and now you're back in the positive again. You're up to $1, $2, $3. So we'll write $3 over here on the y-axis. So you're up to $3. And then on day 5, you found $4 more in the couch cushions or something, and that brought you up to $7. So on day 5, we're going to go out to day 5 on the x-axis, and now you're up at a positive $7, which is all the way up here. Because see, if you look, this goes out here to this marker, and this is 7. So now we're going to connect these dots together along this timeline, and we started on day 1 at $5, and then we went down to day 2, negative $5, so this line's going to go all the way down like that. And then day 3, we had $0, so we're going to come up to the 0. And then day 4, you had $3, and then day 5, you had $7. So this makes kind of a V-shaped, because down here you were in the hole. You had negative $5. So this makes kind of a V-shaped graph. But that's what numbers do. When you graph numbers, they're going to go all over the place sometimes, just depending on the context of what you're graphing. So that's how you're going to graph something with a timeline on it for your x value, but with positive and negative y values. So you are working outside doing yard work. But some days it was really cold, so you didn't get much done to get paid for. Once you even broke a planter and your boss took the money out of your paycheck. So graph the amount of money you earned compared to the temperature it was outside. So here's a word problem. Remember, the x-axis and the y-axis always meet at the 0. It doesn't matter what else is going on in the word problem. It doesn't matter how else you're setting up this graph. The x-axis and the y-axis always share a 0 where they meet. That's the 0 for both the x-axis and the y-axis. So we have the y-axis in the pink going up and down, and of course everything above the 0 is positive, and everything below the 0 is negative, and that's for the y-axis. So positive is up here for the y-axis, and negative is down here for the y-axis beneath the 0. And then on the x-axis, everything to the right of the 0 on the x-axis is going to be positive, and everything to the left of the 0 on the x-axis is going to be a negative number. Now first we need to decide which axis is which. Which axis gets the temperature and which axis gets the earnings. So we don't have any time in this one. You know, normally I say the x-axis gets the time, but we don't have time in this problem. We have temperature and we have money. So we're just going to kind of randomly choose the temperature as the x values. So those are going to be plotted on the x-axis, the one going side to side. And then the amount you get in earnings is going to be plotted on the y-axis, going up and down. So these are going to be your y values. So let's go ahead and start this and try to graph how this turns out. So the first time you go to work, the temperature is 40 degrees. So on your x-axis, that's going to be 40 degrees, and that's going to be in the positive. Your x-axis is the purple going left to right. So let's make some little marks for temperature. So here would be 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, 60 degrees. So we're going to put here, to mark your x-axis, degrees Fahrenheit. And let's not forget the negative side of it. We'll have negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40. Oh gosh, I hope it doesn't get it down to negative 40. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 degrees, and 60 degrees. And over here we have negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, and negative 40. And then on your y-axis is going to be your earnings. I'm going to put the dollar sign up here for your earnings. And we're going to say every square is going to equal $10. So here's $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70, $80, $90, and $100. And just to remind us, we're going to put $100 up here. And don't forget about the negative values. So we're going to have negative $10, negative $20, negative $30, negative $40, negative $50, negative $60. And I'll put negative 60 here just to remind us. So let's begin by trying to plot this out. Our first time we go to work, the temperature is 40 degrees, so that's going to be positive. So on our x-axis, we're going to go all the way over to 40 degrees, and that's right here. And you earned $100. when it was 40 degrees out, because it was warm enough for you to mow the lawns and do a whole bunch of different chores outside. So you earned $100. So that would go up on the y-axis all the way up to the $100 mark. So at 40 degrees outside, you earned $100. Now the next time you went into work, it was only 20 degrees out, so that's kind of cold. So you didn't get as much work done because you were too cold and you moved a little bit more slowly. So you only made $60 that day. So on the x-axis, we're going to go out to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is right here, and you earned $60 that day. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $60. Now the next time you went to work, it warmed up a little bit. It was 30 degrees out, which still isn't all that warm, but it's warmer than 20. And you earned $80 that day because you got a little bit more work done. So on our x-axis, a purple line, we're going to go over to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and you earned $80 that day, which is going to be right up here. So $80. Then on the fourth time you went out to work, it was 10 degrees outside, which is pretty cold. So you were moving really slow, and it's not like you could do a lot of like flower gardening or anything, so you only earned $20 that day. So on your x-axis, you're going to go over to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to go up to $20, and you earned $20 that day. The next time you went into work, though, the temperature dropped to negative 10 degrees. And that was when you were trying to get some work done and you broke a planter, probably because it shattered in the cold weather. And your boss took that out of your paycheck, though. So that earned you a negative $30 because you got $30 taken out of your paycheck instead of getting paid. So let's find on the x value, on the x-axis, that negative 10 degrees. And remember the x-axis is the purple line, but negative 10 degrees, we're going to go backwards, back to a negative 10 degrees. And you earned a negative $30 that day because the planter broke. So you're going to go down on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3 to negative $30. So at negative 10 degrees, you earned negative $30. Now the next time you went into work, and you're thinking about quitting now because it's not fair for your boss to take money out of your paycheck like that, but you went into work one more time, and it was negative 5 degrees outside. So you really didn't get much done, but they gave you $10 anyway for the work that you did do. So let's go on your x-axis and we're going to find negative 5 degrees, which is going to be the halfway point between the 0 and the negative 10 degrees on the x-axis. And you earn $10, which is the first square up. So here's going to be your dot for that. So if you draw a line in linear fashion, like from left to right, showing the comparison of the temperature versus how much you made, you would start down here with the negative $30 at 10 degrees, and you would go up to the $10 at negative 5 degrees. You would go over to the $20 at 10 degrees, up to the 20 degrees and $60, up to the 30 degrees and $80, and up to the 40 degrees and $100. So this is what your graph is going to look like. I'm trying to draw in red so you can see. Your graph is going to make this crazy kind of line because you had some crazy times working this job. And hopefully this is just a summer job to pick up some extra cash, that you don't do this for a living, because that would suck. Now if you notice, when I made this graph and I made the x-axis going from left to right, and I made the y-axis going up to down, and they crossed in the center where this big black 0 is, because the x-axis and the y-axis always have to share their 0. The 0 point is where the x-axis and the y-axis come together. This divided this graph paper into 4 sections. If you can see that, the y-axis went down through the middle like that, and the x-axis went over, and it made a big cross in the middle of the graph paper. And so it divided this graph paper into 4 sections. Here's section 1, section 2, section 3, and section 4. So we call these quadrants. Quadrants. And that's because quad means 4. So there's 4 sections, so the sections are called quadrants. So this is how you look at a graph where there's negatives on both the x and the y axis. It divides the paper into 4 different sections, or 4 quadrants. And we label these quadrants. 1 is where everything's positive. The y-axis is positive and the x-axis is positive. And then 2, quadrant 2, the y-axis is still positive, but the x-axis is negative. Quadrant 3, everything's negative, the y-axis and the x-axis. And then quadrant 4, the y-axis is negative, but the x-axis is positive. So that's just something, I don't know if you're going to get tested on that, but that's something to keep in the back of your mind, that these quadrants are, if you draw a C, that gives you the order of numbering the quadrants. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are what quadrants are in a graph.